Today's chess opening video is for those of you that play the move of e4 and you're trying to find some kind of response against the dreaded French defense, right? I mean, when I'm talking to my students, when I'm talking to friends, when I'm just generally hearing about chess players talk about chess openings, it seems like the Carl Khan and the French defense seem to be the most hated chess openings from the white side when we play the move e4. You might want to throw the Scandinavian somewhere in there as well. But the French defense, right? I mean, this is a solid chess opening for black. It's very strong, and a lot of players don't know what to do with it. Now, most players go with the move of d4. There's nothing wrong with this. This is the normal variation. That's the name of it, and this is a normal move. We're taking control of the center. What I will say, though, is if you play this, you're playing right into black's prep. Black can advance with d5, and sure, there's a number of different things that we can do. We can play knight c3 defending the pawn. We can play knight d2. We can capture. We can push, all this kind of stuff. If we do push, this is the advanced variation. And I'll say I personally don't like this position for white at all. I mean, we do get space. We do get dark squares. But then black plays this move c5 and our pawn's under attack. If black captures here and we don't have a pawn to capture back, e5 is going to be extremely weak because we're not going to have a pawn defending it. And if we play a move here like f4 and they capture, that long diagonal is going to end up being a big weakness on our end. So c3 here is the main move for white, the best move. And against that, okay, knight c6, guess what? They just put more pressure on the pawn. We defend it. Oh, more pressure's coming. Right? I just don't like it. It's not fun. And by the way, if we take on c5, this is not going to go without consequences because once black captures back, it turns out by taking, our pawn chain has a little bit of a chink in the armor all of a sudden. And yeah, I mean, black's very quickly going to be able to put more pressure on e5. That is, again, not defended by a pawn, and it's on their side of the board. And in this case, black has a battery ram coming after f2, the weakest pawn in chess, and pressure on b2 as well. So this is not a lot of fun. What I'm proposing in this video is playing the move of knight f3. Okay. Now this is called the knight variation to start, but we're going to go into a wing gambit, right? And let's say black does play the move of pawn to d5. Well, we could advance, right? And again, in most online chess games, black plays the move of d5. That makes sense. They're a French defense player. In most online games, we see the move here of c5 from black. That makes sense. They're a French defense player. Here we're going to play the move b4 though. And our idea is that we do want to get a French defense advanced variation type structure, but we don't want all that pressure on our d4 pawn. So we're trying to distract that c5 pawn by giving up our b pawn, right? And again, the most popular move is capturing that pawn. It is worth mentioning the second most popular option in online chess is knight c6. And this is great for us because then we get the best of both worlds. We don't have a pawn on c5, right, putting pressure on d4 because we traded it off for our b2 pawn. This is a great trade, right? Pawns in the center of the board are more valuable, more powerful in the opening than pawns on the side. The further you go out, the less they're worth, right? So in this case, trading a b pawn for a flank pawn on the c file, that's fantastic. And that gives us the ability to push here with d4, kicking that bishop back, playing a move now like bishop to d3. And there's a bunch of different ways that black can fall into trouble very quickly here, right? I mean, first off, if you take on d4 with the knight, we capture back, we throw in a check, that bishop's hanging. We're going to go up material here. I mean, this is resignable for the black side, right? I mean, this is not good. Once we go back to bishop d3, if you take back with bishop captures on d4, well, sure. At the end of this, we don't have bishop b5 with check because we don't want to lose our bishop, but we do have the move of queen to g4. Your knight's hanging, g7 is hanging, and yeah, again, black in major trouble in this case. Okay, so we see the move of bishop d3 there. What if we see a move like knight ge7? Well, now we play c3, and we have this very strong center. c3, d4, e5. There's no way for black to put any pressure on d4 because guess what? The c pawn got distracted. In fact, in this case, it didn't even get distracted. It simply got taken out, right? And you know, here, let's just say black castles kingside. Now we have bishop takes h7 with check, a Greek gift. If you capture back, knight g5 with check. If you want to run back with the king to g8 or h8, queen h5, black's game is in disastrous territory. And if king g6, we have h4. h5's on the way. We're looking to get that king over to h6 and really get it in line with this bishop, right? And a lot of times with the Greek gift, black has ideas of running this king to f6. In this case, guys, e5 is there. So the only two squares that black has available right now are either f5 or h6. And let's say we do see a move like f6 trying to kick our knight around. Our knight's not going anywhere. We're throwing in a check there, asking the king what it's going to do. If you go to h6, well, okay, knight f7, and thank you for the queen. And if you go to f5, well, we could play queen f3 with check or g4. In either case, this is going to be checkmate, game over, right? So we go back to the move of pawn to b4. The third most popular option, this is a good move for black. Okay, this is the move of b6. In this case, I recommend c3, right? We're not going super in-depth on the theory. This is an introductory video for those of you that are really just trying to learn what the heck this Gambit is all about. If you want to learn more about it, I have more in-depth video content down below. But if you do see the move of b6, right, you can just play c3. That's fine. That's totally fine there. Yeah, it turns out, right, it doesn't work for black to take and then capture again because we just throw in a check, and black is going to lose material here. This bishop is hanging. And going back, if we see the move knight c6, very common move. Okay, b5, kicking the knight around. Now, if you go back to e7, you're plugging up your development. You have a cramped position. If you go to a5, this knight is going to have a hard time knowing where to go, especially if we play the move d3 here. I mean, c4 is not available. c6 isn't available. You can go back to b7, but then where are you going after that? I'm not sure. So that's one option for us from the white side. This is the engine move, by the way, with the move of d3. I also think that d4 is very playable. This gets great results in online chess. And yeah, I mean, the whole idea here is that, okay, I mean, let's say we see a move like a6. This is the best move that black has. We can still capture. Right, we can capture again, play knight a3, go after that b5 square, and going back to the move d4, if black takes, we can capture back with our c-pawn, and unlike before, sure, black did take, but unlike before, black can't put pressure with the knight. Black can't put pressure with the queen, so our center is actually feeling pretty strong. And if you ever play f6, this short side diagonal is getting a little bit weak, right? So we can play a move here like bishop d3 and just start eyeing those kind of light squares that are getting a little bit loose in that kind of game. And okay, we go back to the move b4. b4 performs extremely well on Lichess if you look on the online database, and the average rating is over 2,000. So I mean, this is played at a decent level in online chess, and white's winning percentage is through the roof. Black seems to have a very hard time with this at the end of the day. Here's the idea: if they do take, which is what you're going to see most of the time, we can advance with d4. Right? We want to advance with d4 right away so that they can't advance with their pawn. And if the most popular move, knight c6, okay, a3, right? Again, attacking the pawn. Now, sure, black can play a move like bishop d7. In that case, we'll capture back. If you want to take our pawn, that's great. We can play b5, we can play c3. We get all of our benefits, and we're not down a pawn. If you do capture on b4, okay, we play c3. We can play a move like bishop d3, knight g7, ton of different things that we can do here. We can castle. We can play a move like bishop a3, extremely active dark square bishop. We can play a move like h4 here, just starting to advance like crazy on the king side. White here with a fun game. And if black does end up capturing, okay, I'm showing you the most popular moves through this entire thing, we have the move of c3. Okay, we're playing this right away. We don't need to take this right away, guys. Okay, we have plenty of attackers on it. We have 3 attackers on that pawn, and black only has 1 defender, and that pawn is so far down on our side of the board, it's just unsavable for the black side. So let's play c3, really lock in this pawn chain that's really directly towards the king side. And, okay, bishop g7, we can take with our knight. I mean, if you capture back with a bishop, our bishop captures back. We have great positional and attacking control of this game, as our dark squared bishop's going to be really, I mean, pouncing down on f8, e7, d6, c5, b4. That diagonal is huge for us. And if a6, all right, bishop d3. I mean, even in this kind of position, we're up in development, we're up in activity. And after a move like knight g7, here's where really you get to decide, okay, what kind of game do I want to play here, right? What kind of game do I want to play? Sure, one thing you can do is castle kingside and look to get this rook over to b1. More on that later. Another idea you can do is play a move like h4 and just start trying to push this pawn like crazy. If you see a move like knight f5, we can play g4, kicking that knight right back and playing h5. This is a very hard position to play with from the black side. I mean, this is it just feels like black is on the brink of collapse, and they're very cramped in this kind of position. So we go back to knight g7. Another option you have is knight g5. Okay, this also performs at a very high level. Let's say we see a move like h6. We can just throw our knight into h7. You can't trap it because guess what? You just got mated on move 12. Smothered mate, very nice idea. And yeah, I mean, if you play a move like g6 here, this is also losing. Queen f3. Queen f3, we're threatening mate. If you play knight f5, we capture back. If you take with the e-pawn, we get our pawn back with great attacking chess. And if you take with the g-pawn, okay, queen h5. Again, we're threatening f7. The moment you defend them with the queen, wait, hold up. Is that rook defended? No. Let's play knight b5, right? And this is an idea that you want to keep in mind in this kind of opening. Even a wing gambit against the Sicilian defense, this tends to be a very strong idea. The moment this rook is not defended, knight b5 becomes an idea, because guess what? If you take, we simply capture back, right? We simply capture back. And if castling queenside here, I mean, trying to respond to all the different threats, we can still play bishop a3. And the engine here actually has knight takes f7, and giving up the knight, bishop d6 with the response. This is a great position for white to work with. I mean, rook a8, major threat. We're eyeing up that d8 rook, and a pretty fun line here, by the way. After b6, turns out we can just take the rook. Now, what are the chances you're going to see this in an online game? Probably not very high, okay, but it's a fun line. We capture off the rook. We're currently, up quite a bit of material. We're up 2 points, and sure, they can take the knight. But if we see a move like queen captures back, I mean, we just throw in a check. If we see a move like knight captures back, yet again, we throw in a check. And if you end up taking our queen, well, we simply throw in a mate on a8, right? a8, you only have one move. And yeah, this game is now over. Beautiful attacking chess from the white side. Might be a fun line to memorize. And just because, you memorize a line and never get it, that doesn't mean it's a waste of time, right? Learning these kind of tactical ideas can go a long way, well, when you're playing chess in general. So we go back to the move of knight g5, right? I mean, there's a lot of ways that black can fall into trouble there. Again, h6, we throw the knight in. We can bail out whenever we want to. And g6 there is never going to work because of knight f6 with checkmate ideas. And if g6 here, queen f3. Amazing attacking chess from the white side. So let's say we see a move here, like knight to g6. Well, we can play queen h5. This is one option. We could castle. We could also throw our queen in here. Yet again, h6 here, dead loss for black. There's so many ways that black can lose this game very quickly. We now capture on f7. We're attacking the queen. We're attacking the rook. The knight is hanging. And if you capture back, we throw in a check. By the way, king e7, mate in 1. And if king g8, 1, 2, this game is over. Taking a step back, a bishop e7 here. Much better move from black. There's different things we can do. One of them is playing this move of knight captures on h7. And yeah, I mean, as you can see, we're putting a bunch of pressure on that g6 knight. The best thing that black can do here is queen a5. But in that case, we have bishop d2, right? Defending c3. Now, sure, you can take our knight, but then you run into this idea of bishop captures on g6. And if you capture back, the queen takes. And it just turns out that white has great attacking chances here. Great compensation for the material that we're down. We're down a piece for our pawn, but yeah, I mean, this bishop is pinned. I don't know how black's going to solve this. I mean, that bishop is pinned, and we have great activity here. g7 is hanging. g5 is a square that a knight or a bishop could easily run into. And again, a3, that minor piece is pinned. So we take a step back to bishop d2. If we see castling queenside here, we have knight c2 attacking the queen. Castling kingside, probably looking to bring our rook over to b1, and those rooks, right? This is a major idea in this kind of wing gambit game, just barreling down those two files, putting pressure on the black camp. White here with a very fun game. So yeah, I mean, there's a couple ideas there for you. And let's say again, so, bishop e7, we can take, that's totally valid. We could also castle. This is a good way to play it. Black will usually take and then play queen c7 according to the stats, but this is just nonetheless, because again, knight b5, we can play this move. This rook is not defended. If you capture back, I mean, we just take the rook. And if you move the queen, knight d6 is disastrous from the black side. And let's say, we see something better from the black side, like knight ce7. Okay, we play rook fb1, b5, knight c2. And this is the kind of position that you're going to get if your opponent is playing this very well. Notice there were so many ways that your opponent could have messed it up pretty badly. But now you have two rooks barreling down the A and B files. And it's going to be hard for black to push these pawns at all. I mean, b4, we have a pawn, knight, and rook on that square. And we have pressure on the b5 pawn already, which is going to make a5 a hard move for black to play. And it kind of reminds me a little bit of a Benko Gambit from the black side. If any of you guys have studied the Benko Gambit, you know that black gives up a pawn against the move of d4, but they end up having rooks on a8 and b8 barreling down. Same kind of idea here. On top of that, we have great activity really from almost all of our pieces. I would say our weakest piece right now is probably our knight on c2, but depending on what black does, that knight can get very active very quickly in this game if we want it to. Okay, so the wing gambit, very fun option for white against the French defense. Reminder, against e6, we're playing knight f3, e5, B4. The moment they take, guys, you got to play D4. And the next move, offer up a pawn. If they take, the moment they take, play C3. This is what we're trying to get. We're down 2 pawns, but we're going to get one of them back. And then from here, you have a lot of great fun attacking ideas that you can try out in your online games. Again, this Gambit performs extremely well. Most chess players don't know what to do with it. And yeah, let me know your thoughts on it down below. And quick reminder as well, I just released an over 6-hour course on the Czech Pierce Defense, underrated, rare, strong chess opening for black. If you want to get 30% off, you got less than a week to do it. I have a promo code CzechPierce2024. If you plug that in before the end of this month, you will receive 30% off. I'll leave a link to that course down in the description below. See you on the next one. Thanks for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. I wanted to give a big shout out to my Patreon supporters for the month of September in 2024. I appreciate y'all a ton. It's been great getting to know you guys. And for those of you that haven't thought about joining the Patreon, there's some exclusive benefits that you gain by becoming a member. And yeah, I mean, if you guys do join, I'm excited to start talking to you guys over on the platform. On top of that, guys, here's the thing. Look, it's September. Okay, it's September. There's only so much time left to get that Czech Pierce Defense course. Click the link. Click the freaking link, plug in the discount code, get your 30% off, only good until the end of the month, and I'll see y'all on the next video. Let's get it.